Hey, all right, guys. It is episode number 3 for MahalOSS, grateful for martial arts, especially Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. As we continue on with this series that I'm doing with musicians that roll, I'm fascinated by musicians that take that jump over to what a lot of us call the dark side sometimes because of potential injury and things like that, because it is difficult to balance both. But I believe the passion and the arts, they're very common in many ways. So my special guest today is a ukulele phenomenon. He is a amazing musician, and through friends that I've asked to interview, they said, "Hey, Andrew Molina rolls." So I wanted to get him on. So, ladies and gentlemen, I have him from Maui. Please welcome Andrew Molina. How are you, my friend?
Hey Jazz, thanks for having me on, man. It's this is actually a topic that I've been wanting, because I do some podcasting too, but I don't get to talk about this. And jiu-jitsu is kind of pretty much my second passion with ukulele. So it's lots of fun.
You started ukulele early teens, about 13 years old?
Started 13 and then I turned 30 this year. So pretty much more than half of my life I've been playing ukulele. And I don't know, it was just a hobby at first. My friend brought over his ukulele and he taught me like Honey Baby, a lot of 3+ stuff. Then my cousin, kind of started coming over and he was taking ukulele Kamehameha and he was teaching me stuff like Kavika and some of the Kyle Crater boys. And I was like, oh, this thing. I was like, oh, this is fun. It's small. It's not like a giant instrument. So it was it's just inviting naturally. And it wasn't until, I heard Jake Shimabukuro play was when I was like, okay, I think I want to do that when I grow up. And it just kind of started from there. And, having to just buy all his CDs, there's no YouTube. So it was much harder to learn the stuff back then, but it helped me develop my ear as a musician though, for sure.
Was there any other musical influences like from your parents? Because usually we take up ukulele as a child because it's like, brought up in the family, everybody plays ukulele or whatever. What other influence? Because I and when I listen to your playing, there's not just local stuff in there. So what I mean? Yeah. What were your early influences, I guess, in music?
I mean, obviously music runs in my family. My grandpa and his 8 brothers were in the Molina Orchestra back in the 1930s, and they played for years together. They used to play around Maui, and I think they even went to some of the other islands. And naturally, I think as my dad started, got to the teenager years, they got him to started playing bass. And he kind of they passed the torch to him. And my dad, has been a musician ever since I can remember. And he just plays all over the place. And you could say it's in the genes, because I have a lot of Molina relatives that play music.
When did you finally discover jiu-jitsu?
So jiu-jitsu was actually towards the latter. Let me see. I want to say I first rolled early in 2000 and maybe mid 2012 before I went to Oahu for a year to go to KCC. I mean, and the thing was, I think I rolled a couple of times on Maui and I was like, okay, this is very, very different. Because, I grew up, I did like karate and some, like Kempo and stuff like that, but it's completely different. You're not just doing kata, day one, someone's like getting a hold of your arm and trying to rip it off, the nicest way possible though. Yeah. And I was just like, wow, because my friend, one of my really good friends was like, hey, you want to come down and roll? And, I've seen a couple UFC fights. So I'm like, oh, okay, that's the portion where you get on the ground. So I was like, we go try it. The passion never really started till I hit Oahu though. We used to go every, at first I wasn't sure what to expect. And I went to that first class. And after that, I was just like, you know what, this is actually pretty fun, because it's there's that chess game that you can play, and it's just, I don't know, it's just a certain experience that if someone hasn't rolled, they can't relate to, So I'd say if someone's on like teeter-tottering, go for it, because it's not the easiest journey. It's really not, but it's so rewarding, especially when you get your first submission, when you survive for 5 minutes against like a guy who's like, going at you like 100%. And it became a hobby of mine. So I started rolling 3 times a week. And before, like within a month, I was just like, damn, can't wait to go to jiu-jitsu tonight. It was just, it's so unique.
What was your first roll like? I was grappling before I did Brazilian jiu-jitsu. And my first jiu-jitsu roll, I got bow and arrowed.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I had never been choked with a gi before. So it was quite
Oh,
traumatizing to
okay.
me, in the beginning. What was there anything like where, because most people are like very uncomfortable to roll with people in the beginning, just body contact,
Yeah,
getting,
well, yeah. I mean, like when
sweating
I
with
think of it, I was
somebody.
exhausted within 3 minutes because you don't know how to relax, especially like if it's super, you're in someone's guard and they're trying to pull your arm. And I remember the first day I got armbarred. That was my very first time I tapped, and I'll never forget it. It was a girl did it too, and then I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
and then I was just like, okay, so this is it. And I just like I tapped the rest of the night, and I was like, so this is jujitsu, right? And like those guys were so good. But yeah, just having that gi on. I remember I had gi burns, like
Oh, yeah.
showering off after. I drank so much water that night. I don't think I've ever felt that exhausted before.
It's a different cardio. I have friends that were Ironman triathletes that gassed out their first day of jujitsu. These are guys that run 20 something miles. And,
Yeah, yeah.
in
It's
5 minutes, these guys
different
were,
gas
yeah,
tank.
yeah, different, and a different pacing, a different pacing
Right, right.
of the cardio. How long have you been training now, steady?
Oh man, so I was like really, really inconsistent. Like trained a little bit on Oahu, and then I think I trained here on Maui up until 2015, and I took 2 years off because I started traveling and touring. And then my dad is one of the musicians, like, oh, watch your hands, can't let anything happen to your hands. And I'm just like, don't worry. It's like, like you said, like what we were talking about before. It's all about the training partners and then the environment you're in. They're usually super cool about it. It's like, oh, no crazy stuff. So usually, I've never really been injured before, luckily. So I took 2 years off, and I thought that I was like, oh yeah, maybe I'll go back. And then I got the itch again in 2017,
Mm.
and then I went consistently for an entire year, and then I just kind of did some garage training after that. I got my blue, and then it was another inconsistent road, especially with COVID.
Yeah, yeah.
So
And
we
then
all
blue
kind
is
of had,
that belt. Blue is that belt.
yeah, blue.
Everybody quits at blue. Some people are happy at blue. Like I know a lot of karate guys that like
Yeah.
as soon as they got their blue, it's like they got their black belt. They're like, no, I know just enough.
Oh, that's funny. And plus, probably they like
Now
the
nobody
collar
can take
too.
me down. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
You, you
yeah.
know,
So like, even there was just like, yeah, I don't know. So it's been a very inconsistent journey, and yeah, and then especially then the pandemic happened, and then like I was training like once, I trained like one day, like a Thursday here, and then like 3 weeks would go by, and then I'll do again. But finally this year again, I'm finally rolling consistently, and my
yeah.
passion is bigger than it's ever been.
Where
So
where are
I'm
you
really,
train?
really
Where are you training nowadays?
Oh, we just I trained with a couple friends in a garage, pretty much
Oh,
it.
awesome, awesome.
Yeah, so it's pretty informal, and so we do a lot of rolling and stuff like that, and then plus a huge group right now is still like because you could catch COVID, so we're just trying to keep it
Yeah,
to a
yeah,
minimum. Hopefully,
yeah.
no one gets sick, but yeah, it's just been so much fun. You could say the passion has reignited as of maybe January. So
Have you got the gi addiction?
the
Purchasing of geese?
I actually just bought one actually like a week ago. I don't know if you ever heard of Raven
Yeah,
Fightwear.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I actually bought the pumpkin gi.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I was
yeah.
like, oh, I don't have a white gi. I'll buy the white pumpkin one, but I might buy some of the other ones they have. It's pretty cool. We'll see how it fits, but I,
Yeah.
I've been waiting
That
for about 2 weeks now, so hopefully it comes
that's
in.
that could be a bad addiction.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. There was like some guys who like it seems like for the majority of like guys that I know, it's like a 10 is like the minimum,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
right? And I was like, and if gi, like these days, you can get some on Amazon, like Sanable or some of
Yeah.
those other brands where it's like $75,
Yeah.
But I
But once you
remember
get into the addiction, it's like tennis shoes. My
yeah,
my big problem is that I'm addicted to the drops that like show you rolling control
I
does.
was just gonna say
And
show
I'm
your
just
roll,
like, oh,
yeah.
only so many printers. Like, then I got to tell the wife, I'm like, yo, hun, there's only gonna be like 100 of these. I gotta go now. If my wife watches, I have about 10, and I have at a 0 if my wife's not watching.
Oh man, yeah.
I'm a big control. I'm a big control guy. And then recently, my dojo, we have our own gis.
Oh,
So,
okay.
and everybody's allowed to order their own colors. So it gets to that point where I'm like, oh yeah, let me put in an order. I'm gonna order every color in the rainbow for myself. You know, just
Right, right. Because I mean, a lot of places some places you can only wear white.
yeah,
And
yeah,
luckily, like, yeah. So now it's so informal. Like, I don't know. You could bring a red gi if you wanted to, or
yeah.
something
Oh yeah,
crazy like
yeah.
that.
It's definitely, that's why I related so much to music, because it's got so much where, you know, everybody is just like a jujitsu technique. Like for instance, an arm bar, everybody knows at a certain level, but everybody, even different from the person that you learned it from, everybody's going to apply it differently. Just like everybody's going to play a guitar part differently.
Right, right.
Everybody can play the same lick, and everybody's going to play it differently in some way or another. Being more of a hobbyist and training in the garage, are you guys focusing on like what's the hottest move out there? Are you guys training to really learn how to defend yourself, so in case you do get into a scrap, there's a, you know,
Yeah.
there's
No.
a self-defense space?
Uh, yeah. Unfortunately, it's not really for self. It's more for sport, I would say.
Right.
Yeah, street fight. I wouldn't. I really wouldn't know what to do. I mean, we're just, yeah, we're there for the sport for sure, and it's so interesting. I mean, there's only a few of us, but everyone has a significantly different game.
And that's
You know.
awesome. That's the best way to roll is, yeah.
Right. And I think it was just with me, like I said, like I was just so tunnel vision, and now I'm just really trying to up the arsenal where it's like, I can go 5 different roads instead of just that one road that everyone knows already, because like I've been doing it for so long, everyone knows the triangle's coming. So I'm just like, okay, let me get some arm bars, let me get a Kimura in there and a whole bunch of other stuff. But that's when I think I started appreciating it more as well. Like I can have so much more fun with this than I'm already having.
Yeah.
And just the whole strategy to that. And now I'm starting to see combinations, which I couldn't see at white belt,
Yeah. One thing you'll learn too as you go is that you'll never be good at your A game at home. Like you're everybody knows your A game in the gym. So you're gonna tap those guys with your B and C game, and then the guys that don't know you as the guys you catch.
Yeah, that's so interesting what you said. Yeah, because like even sometimes when I go on the road, I roll with I do like a little drop in, and then the stuff that usually don't work here because they know what's happening. It's like you get it like that, and it's just like, huh, that's interesting. So no, that's very accurate.
Yeah, and that's why we always tell people too that don't get discouraged if it doesn't seem like it's working in class. Like the dude knows you're doing it.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, if you're in a different,
it's not working. Coach is like, well, yeah, the guy knows you're doing it, and that's the other thing. What I love about jiu-jitsu is that, like you were saying earlier in the conversation, where it's a big difference from practicing other arts, because like with other arts, you're maybe practicing at like 30 to 50%. Like, when somebody's striking, you're not really trying to knock them out, except for maybe like boxing. But like in jiu-jitsu, I'm really trying to strangle you, and you're really trying to strangle me, friends or not. There's 100%,
right. You're gonna either break something or you're gonna go to sleep,
which is why it works. Back to music. In your ukulele playing, in your style, I read that they were talking about your emphasis on the low G. Is the low G, are we talking about like in Hawaiian music where we use that lower octave to kind of give it some I guess girth in the music?
So low G is just like so normally for example, or I can show you this uke at the same time because it ties in with this conversation. So this is my custom kamaka that I got.
Yeah.
And this is a high G. You can kind of do pull-ups, but you hear this high note at the top versus a low note. So I guess you could say this is more common, I would say. Guys like Herboto Jr., he's, and Ota-san's been using a low G, which I'll show you something. But real quick, maybe you can see this, but this is on top of the fretboard. I don't know if you can see, the lighting's kind of bad, but well, I'm trying to reverse. But yeah, on the 6th or the 5th and 7th fret, I don't know if you can see it, but it's actually the Gracie triangle.
Oh my God, is that what that is?
Yeah. So I specified to have it on there because I thought it'd be pretty cool.
Oh, dude, we need to tag Henner and Huron on this, man.
I'll send you an HD photo because that did no justice to that right now.
That's crazy. Wow.
Yeah. So I use it as a dot marker.
Wow, that is crazy, man.
Yeah, so that's my custom kamaka that I got about 4 years ago, and it's something with a logi. This is this. So like, right, you hear that in Hawaiian music, and then you also just hear it just in general. There's a huge difference, and the thing is, you have to approach them very different than each other. You know, like you can't let that string drone during certain voicings, or it's gonna. Like you can. Let's say you can get away with certain things on the high G. Pretty much. This is the analogy that I love to use. High G is like no gi, and low G is like gi. It's a little. The pace is a little bit slowed down, and you have to be conscious of certain things versus the high G, which is more scramble based. And you can get away with certain things, and that's it is pretty it's pretty accurate to that, I would say, but a lot of people don't understand when I say that.
That is awesome. See, jiu-jitsu and musician guys are gonna get that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
Wow.
I know for sure when someone gets that, because they're like, oh yeah, but a lot of people are like, what is that no gi, you know?
Yeah. That's why, like, I was talking to Vince Esquire on the first episode, and we're talking about like relating some people's jujitsu to genres of music. Like, for instance, like John Donaher, would be like your Miles Davis or your jazz musician.
Yeah, super technical and just
and then you have those that are like just kind of like run people over and not really technical, which is kind of like you're just like your rock and roll, 3-bar rock and roll, 3-chord rock and roll kind of trip.
Yeah.
What is your guys' inspiration, since you're not at a gym right now? Like, what do you kind of know, like let's work on this today? Or is it kind of like when you're playing, it's like, let's jam?
It's pretty much, yeah, I would say it's like that. It's usually, I think everyone, like just a couple of the guys, they watch some Instagram videos, so it's just like everyone kind of does their research in private and they launch it at each other. It's just a small group, and there's just, I don't know, like some like one of the guys we train, man, he has such an interest. It's so unorthodox, so it's really hard to like counter. It's not what you normally expect from an opponent. He's like the smallest guy we roll with, but he just knows how to shut down things. He turns you into a pretzel. And I'm just like, like, you can't use this left arm. I was like, man, that's pretty crazy. And some of the other guys is more smash. One guy is just huge, and if he just gets your wrist, just pushes it, he can do whatever he wants, because there's weight classes for a reason.
Yeah,
exactly. And for me, I don't know, I just like, I watch a lot of UFC, so I started practicing my Khabib body lock.
Oh, hey, that's a good technique, man.
Yeah, I like it. It's like you don't have to go hectic with it, and then if you get the mechanics right, you can pass, or get some nice.
You guys practice no gi much?
Man, I love no gi. We actually been doing constant gi as of January, but my first love is no gi, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know when that switched, because originally it was gi, and then I was like, oh, I don't like scrambling, but now it's like I notice how much I use the scrambling, because when I'm in the gi now, it feels like I'm kind of stuck in the mud now.
Yeah, it's when for me, going through many years of no gi and then going into gi, I started getting caught in things in gi that I never got caught in, because you could slide out of arm bars. I could slither my way out of a triangle. Now there's all this friction. I'm like, oh man, I'm stuck. Now I got to actually be a little bit more technical, And then you got to switch the whole grips. I love the fact of no gi, and a lot of my musician friends prefer no gi because they're not having a grip.
That's another thing too. And actually, so I've never really been seriously injured like some of the guys I know, but I think it was right before I took that first initial break. I was rolling with someone with the gi, and I grabbed his lapel. And then all of a sudden, the guy jumped and cartwheeled over my head, and my middle knuckle went with it. Yeah. And so, like, to this day, it's 6 years later, I can still feel it sometimes when I do a lot of grip game. That's why I wanted to roll no gi for a long time, because I was like, like you just said, it was taking its toll on my middle knuckle.
Yeah.
And like that, at least with no gi, you can grip around the neck, or like arm drag or something, versus really lapel stuff like that. And it's a tough one. I mean, it's good to do both. Kind of like when I tell my students high G and low G, same thing, right? It's good to good to do a little bit of both because they're a different game. It's a different pace, but I've just been kind of studying like how I've been my results have been lately. I definitely have more success without the gi.
That's awesome, man. Thank you so much for talking story, man. I hope one day that we get to connect either musically or jujitsu wise or combination of both.
Hey, let's do it. We'll roll and then we'll jam right after.
Yeah, heck yeah, man. You have are you working on any projects coming up?
No. I actually, I mean, I released one a couple years ago, but then COVID happened, so I'm still currently still promoting that the third record for now, and awesome. I guess that in my online school and stuff like that. So that's pretty much it.
Oh, tell us about that. Tell everybody about your online school.
Yeah, so I just released my school called the Andrew Molina Ukulele Academy, and I just I have quite a few students, and that's if you really want to up your ukulele game. It's a collection of several HD videos that you can watch whatever you want to learn. If it's theory, if it's techniques, it's all at your disposal. And if you want more of that one-on-one learning style, then those are there are options for that as well. So
I think you should incorporate jujitsu techniques as a bonus as well.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, it's yeah. I'll figure something out.
Brad, thanks again for talking story, man. Where can everybody find you on social media and all that?
Yeah, so you can find me Andrew Molina on Facebook, and then on Instagram, AM Ukulele Academy. That should be on there. Just type in Andrew Molina. My name and my picture will pop up.
Awesome. Thanks again, my brother.
All right, man.